All right, hi everyone. So I wanted to take this opportunity right now to just kind of go over all of the formulas that we've talked about so far in Unit 1, or I should say in summation of Unit 1, because we've just finished it up, right? There's a lot that we talked about, and I kind of wanted to just summarize all of it, put it in one video, and make it super duper clear what's happening. All right, so before we move on to Unit 2, let's do this summary of Unit 1. All right, cool. So let me start presenting. All right. Unit 1, income formulas, right? So Unit 1 has been all about employment and income. So the first half of the unit, we just talked about getting a job, resumes, interviews, all of that kind of good stuff. And then for the second part of the unit, we actually went into money math, right? We started calculating income, different types of wages. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at right now, all of the different formulas that we have to calculate wages. All right. So hourly wages are our most basic type of wages. I think we're all pretty familiar with what an hourly wage is, right? So your weekly salary, right, is going to be equal to your hourly rate in dollars, right, times the number of hours worked. All right, so that's the first formula we need to make sure that we know. All right, how much money you make per hour is multiplied by the numbers of hours that you worked for. Okay? So that'll tell you your gross weekly income before taxes, right? So just how much money you make per hour times the number of hours, all right? So for example, here we have Samantha. She works at a clothing store for 40 hours a week, all right? She earns $12 an hour. So for that week, she earned a gross income of $12 per hour times 40 hours, right? So all you have to plug into the calculator is 12 times 40. All right, and you'll get $480. So before taxes and everything, Samantha here earned $480 at this job that week alone. Okay, hourly wages. Straightforward, let's keep going. Now, keeping time. We have to remember that when we're talking about hourly wages, we also have to make sure that we're talking about how to keep time. Okay, so notice that the formulas we use hours, right? Not hours and minutes, right? Because we don't always work solid hours. Sometimes we work for 5 hours and 15 minutes or whatever, right? We don't always just work hours. We usually, most of the time, work some type of minutes after that. But we don't use minutes in the formulas. We use the hours. So that means that we have to learn how to convert minutes into decimal hours. And usually we're going to keep it in terms of quarter hours. All right. So when we talk about a quarter hour, that is a quarter of 60 minutes. Well, what's 1/4 of 60 minutes? If you look at this little clock down here, it's 15 minutes. All right. So quarter hour intervals are listed as 15-minute intervals. So that is why I have listed right here all of the decimal notation in hours for all of the minutes, right? So 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour or 0.25 hours, right? You can think of it as 25%, or you can think of it in terms of like a dollar, right? A quarter of a dollar is 25 cents. That's where that 25 comes from. That's why we call it a quarter, right? You can think of it in that way. You could think of it as a quarter of a pie is 25%, whatever. Whatever helps you memorize the fact that 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour and that equates to 0.25 hours. You need to just, whatever you need to memorize that, memorize it, all right? 30 minutes is half an hour or 0.5 hours. 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour or 0.75 hours. 60 minutes is one whole hour, so 1.0, right? 60 minutes is 1 hour. You don't need the decimals after that. All right, so this is going to help you make sure that you're converting time properly and that you're adding together all of your total hours worked correctly as well. Okay. Now let's talk about tips. All right, so here's another formula to keep in mind. The tip amount that you pay to someone is going to equal the price of the service times the percent of the tip. All right, so we give tips to people who provide a service for their work, like waiters, hairstylists, etc. Right? When calculating tip, make sure that you are using your percentage in decimal form. All right, so that's why I have this little chart over here. You can see that we have percentages on the side. 75%, right, is written as 0.75 in decimal form, right? So we're going from percentage form here on the right to decimal form here to the left. Take a look at this orange arrow, right? We move 2 decimal places to the left. All right, that's how you're going to be able to convert it. So 80% is written in your calculator as 0.8, or 0.80. 6% is written in your calculator as 0.06, right? And 34.5% is typed into your calculator as 0.345, okay? You have to keep that in mind because you can't just type 7.5 into the calculator and think that's going to give you a percentage. It's not going to work like that. You have to write it in decimal form, okay? So here's an example, right? Roberto has a meal that costs him $15.30, and he would like to tip his waiter 20%, right? So you're going to take that $15.30 that it costs for the service, right? $15.30 times 20%, which is written in decimal form as 0.20. You just plug that into the calculator and you're going to get 3.06, which is approximately $3. So let's say Roberto here wanted to just pay in cash. He could just leave $3. It'd be approximately 20% tip, right? If he was paying with card and he wanted to be exact, he could put $3.06, okay? So that is how much tip would go specifically to the waiter, not to the restaurant for the food, but to the waiter for his service. Or he has a waitress here, to the waitress for her service, whatever, you know what I mean. All right, let's keep going. Equivalent hourly rate. Now, this is one of the trickier topics, I think, but when we break it down, it's not too bad, all right? So here's the formula. The equivalent hourly rate, EHR, is equal to all of the money earned divided by the total hours worked, all right? Just keep that formula in mind. All of the money earned divided by total hours worked, right? Now, the reason we use EHR is that not all jobs are paid by the hour. Some jobs get paid by work completion, others include service fees like tips, right? So EHR tells us how much an employee got paid if they were hypothetically paid by the hour, all right? You earned all this money. Let's imagine that you earned it per hour. What would it be? All right, and the reason we use EHR is because it helps us compare job offers, and it also helps us compare productivity more accurately, all right? So for example here, Max mows lawns at a rate of $30 per lawn. He doesn't get paid by the hour, he gets paid per lawn, right? So if a lawn takes him 1 hour to mow, what's his EHR? Well, we're going to take all of the money earned, and let's say he earned a tip or something, right? You could add that tip into all of the money earned. You would add that in. And not in this case, he didn't earn a tip. He just earned that $30 per lawn, right? And then divide it by the hours he worked for. Well, it says right here he worked for 1 hour. So $30 divided by 1 hour, right? That is going to be equal to $30 per hour. All right, EHR is a rate. All right. It is not how much they earned total. It is not the total income. You have to take the total income and divide it by the time because that will tell us the rate, right? That's where the R comes from, equivalent hourly rate. What would have been their hourly rate? What would their hourly rate have been equal to if they worked by the hour? That's what that tells us. Let's keep going. All right, piecework. So your earnings, your total income for piecework is going to be equal to the rate per piece. So how much money you make per piece times the number of pieces completed. What does that mean? Right? Well, piecework is an example of a job that's not paid by the hour. You're paid rather by the pieces completed, right? So this is what I said, right, with EHR. Not every job is paid by the hour. Piecework is an example of a job that's not paid by the hour. All right, so for this, to find out how much you would be making, all you're gonna do is just multiply the total number of pieces completed, right, by the number you earn or by the rate you earn per piece. So let's take a look at an example, all right? So Linda, she works at a factory. She sews pockets onto jeans, okay? She gets paid 80 cents or $0.8, right? So 80 cents per pocket that she sews. All right, so let's say this week she sewed 330 pockets. It's a lot of pockets. Okay. Let's say she sewed 330 pockets. What did she earn? Well, we're going to take that 80 cents that she earns per pocket. Sorry, there's a typo here. This should be 330 pieces. My bad. Let me make sure that it's typed into the calculator correctly. 0.8 times 330. Yeah, okay. It was just a typo on this pieces. This should say 330. My fault. But we're just going to take that 80 cents and multiply it by the 330 pockets that she sewed. and you just type it into the calculator and you'll get 264. Let me fix that typo right now while we're at it. There we go. All right, so 80 cents times the 330 pockets or pieces, because this is called piecework, right? That's $264 that she earned this week at the factory. Now let's talk commission. So commission is another example of a job that's not necessarily paid by the hour. All right. Commission equals the amount of sales, usually in dollars, times the percent rate. Right? Commission is earned usually from a sales job, where an employee earns money based on a percent of the sales that they make. All right, so let's say I sell shoes, for example, and for every pair of shoes that I sell, I earn 10% of that. So let's say I sell a $500 pair of shoes. The money that goes in my pocket is based on that $500 that I sold, right? So if I make 10%, that means that I get what, $50 in my pocket for selling a $500 pair of shoes, right? Like that. So let's take a look at quota commission. All right. So commission, just in general, you get a percent of how much you sell. Now, quota commission is a little different. All right. A commission rate will usually rise when an employee reaches their quota or goal. So a quota is a goal that you want to make. So like I said, let's say I sold like a $500 pair of shoes. Let's say that my goal is to sell $600 worth of shoes to customers, right? Well, I already sold $500 worth of shoes. So now all I have to sell is another $100 to reach my $600 goal. All right. So the goal is based on how much you are selling to customers. All right. So then, right, usually when you have a quota, depending on the job, but usually when you have a quota, you'll make a certain percentage before you reach that goal. And then that percent that you earn is going to raise after you meet that goal. That provides incentive, right? That makes you want to work harder. If you reach your goal, you're going to make even more money, right? So let's take an example, take a look at an example, right? So we have Stephanie here. She sells cars, all right? She has a weekly quota of $20,000, right? Before reaching her quota, so before reaching that goal, she earns 5% commission. So up to that $20,000 that she sells, if she manages to sell $20,000 worth, she'll earn 5% commission off of that. So 5% of that $20,000 is going to go in her pocket, all right? But after she reaches her goal, any sales that she makes past that $20,000, she's going to earn 8%. You see? So that provides incentive for her to reach her goal, because after she reaches her goal, she's going to make even more. She's going to make 3% more, right? So let's say that that week she sold $27,000 worth of cars to customers. So what's her commission if she sold $27,000 worth? All right. Well, 27,000 is more than her 20,000 goal, right? She passed her goal. She sold even more than she needed to, right? So this is how we'll calculate this. All right, we're going to take the commission before the quota. We're going to use this formula, the commission before the quota. So the amount of sales, right? Up to that $20,000, she earned 5%. So 20,000 times 0.05, right? That's going to be $1,000. You type that into the calculator. That's how much she made before quota. So when she reached her goal, that's how much she earned, $1,000 in her pocket, okay? But she sold more money past that. So we have to ask ourselves, how much more did she sell? Well, she sold $27,000 worth, and her goal was $20,000. So we're going to subtract that out, $27,000 minus $20,000. That's an extra $7,000 that she made past her goal, right? So now for all of that she sold past her goal, she earns 8% commission. So we're going to take that $7,000 that she earned past the goal, and we're going to multiply that by the 8% commission, which is 0.08. And that's going to be $560. So then we'll add the commission before quota, which was 1,000, and then we'll add together the commission after quota, which was 560, and we'll get the total commission here, which was $1,560. So this week, Stephanie got in pocket 1,000. Actually, I shouldn't say in pocket because we haven't calculated the taxes yet, right? But her gross income for that week was $1,560. All right, let's talk about annual salary. So we already talked about weekly salary, right? So that's your rate times the hours that you worked. Well, for annual salary, you're just going to take the amount you earn per week, and you're going to multiply it by the amount of weeks that you worked for in that year. All right. So annual salary is just another word for yearly salary, not weekly salary, but yearly salary. So if we want to figure out how much you make in a year, we're just going to take how much you make in a week and we're going to multiply it by the 52 weeks of the year. All right. This assumes, though, that the employee doesn't take any time off or vacations or anything like that. Right. This assumes that the employee is getting paid for all 52 weeks of the year. All right, let's take a look at an example. So Hugo here, he earns $15 per hour, and he works 45 hours a week at a grocery store. All right. How much does he make in a year if he takes no vacations? All right. Well, again, we're going to find the weekly salary. So here's the weekly salary right here. His $15 per hour times 45 hours, right? And then we're going to multiply that by the 52 weeks that he worked for. And when you do that, you'll get $35,100. So that is his gross annual salary, $35,100 is how much Hugo makes working at the grocery store per year. Again, this is all types of gross income, but we have to talk about net income, all right? Net pay or net income equals your gross pay minus your total deductions, all right? Hourly wages don't tell you exactly how much money you will take home with you. Not hourly, not commission, not piecework. None of that tells you exactly how much you're going to take home because there's always some money taken out of your paycheck. All right. You will have taxes and deductions removed from your paycheck. This is called payroll tax. All right. So your net pay becomes the amount of money you actually take home. So your gross pay, right? These all here that we looked at, these are all examples of gross pay. We have to take out those taxes and stuff at the end. And that's going to tell us our actual net pay, how much is actually going in our pocket. So let's take a look at Malik here, for example. He earns a gross pay of $1,500, all right? But he has $425 worth of payroll taxes and deductions. So on his paycheck, right, you can see he earned $1,500, but we can see that in taxes, federal, state, whatever, that out of his paycheck, his employer took out $425 to pay for those taxes and deductions. So how much does he actually get to take home? Well, we're going to take 1,500 and we're going to subtract 425 and you'll get $1,075. That's how much Malik is actually taking home in his pocket. All right. So really quick, let's just talk about how payroll tax is calculated, all right? The tax that's withheld or the money that's taken out taken out of your paycheck, right, is equal to your gross pay times the percentage of tax, all right? So this will be repeated for every single tax that's listed on an employee's earnings statement, all right? Again, when you're typing a percentage into the calculator, it has to be written in decimal form. So let's take a look at an example here, right? We've got Jesse. Jesse earns $960 in gross pay this week, all right? If his FICA Social Security tax is 6.2%, how much of his income is withheld for that tax alone? So we're going to take that $960 in gross pay. We're going to multiply it by 6.2%, which is written as 0.062. You type that into the calculator and you get 59.52, all right, or $59.52. So that's how much money is going to be withheld just for that tax. Again, that has to take place for every single tax that's listed, every single tax and deduction that's listed on your payroll. And then you would add together all of those tax deductions, and that would become your total deductions that you would take away from your gross pay to find your net pay. All right. And that's everything. We did it. So that's all of the formulas that we've been learning these past few weeks when it comes to calculating income and employment. All right. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this was a good summary, and I hope that we're ready to move on to Unit 2.